Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Amber Living Vlog. This is Beyond Film School, and I'm Amber, and today we're talking about producer no-nos. So yes, it's been a while since I've been back. And for those of you who have been keeping up with me, it's been like more than a month, and I apologize. I was doing a feature film and I totally got sucked in. I barely had time to post to my Instagram on Beyond Film School. It's like been pretty bad. And I just finished my first production assistant training. I have 6 mentees. I'm super excited for this program and I love each one of them. They are really, really great people. I'm really excited to help them out. And I think the training went well. So my next training is going to be October 12th, if I'm not mistaken. Deadline is September 21st. So if you're interested, there's a link below if you're interested in my production assistant training or mentorship program. So let's get to it. Producer no-nos. This video was pretty much inspired by some sets I've been working on, working as a producer, working as a first AD, working as a set PA. All of my experience kind of rolls right into this video. This video is going to be for people who are aspiring producers, and maybe you want to be a better producer, maybe you are trying to figure out how to become a producer and what to avoid. I don't know, but there are many people who can probably learn from this video. My motto as a first AD is safety first, and that's probably why I'm making it #1. Safety is first on set. There is nothing as a producer you should be forcing anyone to do when it comes to safety. I feel really, really strongly about that. Follow protocol and just make sure you're keeping everyone safe. This is like traffic lockups. Don't shoot anywhere that is unsafe, on tracks, in the middle of the street, unless you have ownership of those things. So, and I know that's very hard. Some people like to steal the shot without the permit or permission, but you have to somehow block traffic if you're trying to plan a car stunt or something like that. So safety is definitely first, and I want to enforce, reiterate, make sure you understand safety is first, and it is not worth anyone getting injured or anyone dying, and I mean that like to the fullest extent I could mean that. So the second one I'm going to go into is unpaid crew. Some people will debate me on this, especially producers and people who are directors and writers, and they are trying to build their reel. There's a section for that where it's like, maybe you're making a short film in a day and everyone's agreed to do it unpaid because I need the credit. And that's fine. If everyone's agreeing to do it unpaid, make sure you're still sticking to the rules. Keep a 12-hour day, don't go over. If everyone's agreeing to be unpaid, make sure you feed them well. But if you are doing like a full-on feature film, you need to give people a living wage. If you are making a feature film, I'm assuming that you've gone through a few short films and you've gained experience and you've learned how to get investors, learned how to get funding. You really should be paying your crew, a living wage. Like, $13 an hour is the minimum in New York City. Depending on what state you're in, just make sure you're paying people a living wage. Do not expect anyone to work over 12 hours if you are not paying overtime. I think that's very fair. I think 12 hours is already outrageous when you think about a work day. And the average work day is 8 hours, right? And sometimes even less than that, or 7 or 6 or 7 hours, depending on what you're doing, where you're working. So I think expecting your crew to work more than 12 hours is crazy. I'm sorry. If you're not paying overtime. Even if you are paying overtime, you still, don't schedule the day to be so stacked. And I know the first AD is the one that's doing the scheduling, but sometimes the first AD's hands are tied when the producer is forcing you to get all this stuff in a certain day or a certain amount of time. Do not expect your crew to work more than 12 hours. Don't plan for it. If you're planning for like an 11, 12-hour day and you happen to go over an hour, okay, that's understandable. But don't go out saying, you know what, these people can work 14, 15, 16 hours. This may seem like a real funny one, but do not feed your crew nothing but carbs. Pizza, pasta, bread, and bagels are not sufficient nutrition to fuel your crew. And I think that a lot of producers fall into that like hole of, I don't know what to feed them. It's like, think about proteins, think about vegetables, having vegetables on set, hummus, fruit, for God's sake. Just make sure people are having proper nutrition. And you can't have bagels every friggin' morning. You cannot have pizza every lunch. It's crazy. You can't have just sandwiches every day. And I've definitely worked projects where that has happened, and it's insane, especially if like someone who is vegetarian or someone who's gluten-free, you have to really think about the dietary needs of your crew. I want to kind of jump off that with lunch and breakfast. Well, crafty is pretty important, especially if you are kind of not having this full blown out catering. Crafty is important, like having peanut butter there, having celery and carrots, hard-boiled eggs at crafty. Like certain things should be on the crafty table to make sure people are getting through the day when they are hungry, like having nuts there, fruit, and don't put out the candy until after lunch. Like I've had some really sorry crafty where it was like dried cereal, bags of dried cereal, a lot of leftovers from like the previous day from catering, and it's like it's really sad when you have a really sad crafty table. Make sure you have a good crafty table. Some producers like to go ahead with a project and not give your crew members deal memos, and I feel like that's a really big no-no, because it can be a real big problem when you start expecting people to do overtime. I mean, a day rate, yeah, a day rate's a day rate, but you can't just take advantage of a day rate and think that someone's gonna work 18 hours for you every day. I think that's crazy. So deal memos are really good because they protect you, they protect the crew member, you guys have a common ground, you guys have agreed on something. So I feel like deal memos are really important. Also, some people are trying to get into the union and they need those deal memos as proof. I always make it a point to kind of tell everyone, it's like, it's not just you that I'm rushing everybody, I'm giving everyone limited time for certain things. I deal in time, right? I deal in time. Producers deal in money. So when producers throw all their money into the camera and they don't put money into wardrobe, they don't put money into, you know, art department props and set dressing, I think that's a really big mistake. Put your money into all departments as equally as possible. Don't get too caught up in the type of camera you need to rent, because you can really make a really great film, short film or feature film on something that isn't expensive to, isn't the new trend or isn't as expensive to rent. And a well-rounded producer will know a lot of departments. And I'm not saying to be a good producer you need to be a costumer and a production designer and a director and a camera person and an AD. I mean, it's good to have experience in a few departments, but I feel like you need to pay attention to all the departments, learn what goes into them, but also trust your crew members, because they are like the craftsmen. They are the specialists in their field that you hired them for. Sometimes producers walk on set and really act as if they know everyone's job. And I feel that's really frustrating, and it makes things really tense and not so happy and fun on set when a producer comes in and tells you how to do your job. I mean, no one wants to be that guy. No one wants to interact with that guy either, guy or girl. So just trust your crew members to do their job like you hired them. So let them do what you hired them for. There should be no drinking or drugs on set. And I feel like there are some producers that are so chill that just, and sometimes what happens on indie sets is everyone kind of gets to know each other really well, and it's like a family feeling and all that jazz, and people forget that they are working because it's been so much fun. Well, let's just make sure that there is no drinking and no drugs of any sort while you're rolling. Once you wrap, I don't give a what you guys do, but when we're like shooting and we're doing the day, try not to be drinking. I've had like certain things where the scene will call for alcohol and the producers want real alcohol in the drink for the actor. Well, that's a surefire way of making your day longer, because if that actor has trouble with the lines and then they start drinking, and when they start getting drunk they cannot remember the lines, then it's like we have to do take after take after take. I mean, that is one thing, but also when you involve drugs and alcohol, it can get dangerous, unsafe. You know, you're dealing with equipment, you could break something, someone can get injured. It's just a big no-no to have alcohol and drugs on set. There has been some jobs that I've had producers kind of have this attitude of, well, you're replaceable, and it's almost like they're threatening you in a really, I mean, it's really fucked up for a producer to be like, I pay you, you work for me, and if you don't fall in line, you're replaceable, which who the hell wants to work with that type of animosity and atmosphere? And like, I mean, that is just a way of making your crew unhappy, and it creates this divide between producers and crew members. You just don't want that. Your actors or cast your crew, treat them well. Treat them like you want them there, like you respect them. I mean, you should respect them. Because you hired them and they're good at their job. I mean, if they're not good at their job, then yeah, they are replaceable, but that shouldn't be said. It should not be said. I don't care what the situation is. It should not be said. You want to create a good atmosphere and you want to have a good relationship with your crew members, so treat them well. Go out of your way to make them feel like you're there for them. You're there for them. You are pretty much the backbone of production because you are a producer. You are leading shit. So you need to be there for them. They'll work harder and they'll work smarter for you. Another one is, it has to do with scheduling, and I feel like scheduling is a huge deal. It's like half the battle for a set is making sure everything's scheduled and, you know, everything's planned, pre-planning. So do not schedule 6 days in a row, 7 days in a row. Crew members need rest. You need rest if you're a producer. Everyone needs rest. So people deserve 2 days off. Work 5 days and then 2 days off. Even 6 days on and 1 day off is really, really pushing it, because you will really see the stress, the lack of sleep, just really wear on your crew members, and you don't want that. So just keep that in mind. Do not make them work every single day. Make sure they have days off, and the best bet is working 5 days on, 2 days off. Okay, here's what happens when you don't have enough sleep. Your cognitive functions in your brain will start to deteriorate and they won't work at their peak level. So when you have, you know, you're working day in, day out, and the lack of sleep and then stress added to that, like, people are gonna fuck up. Stupid mistakes are gonna happen. So you have to think about, make sure that they're properly fed, they get proper amount of rest, and they have a proper amount of time off at the end of the week so they can like recharge and be ready to go for the next week. A lovely trend that's happening now in the production world is Airbnbs for accommodation. And that's fine. Airbnbs are pretty cool sometimes, but that does not mean you're going to shove 15 people in a 7-bed Airbnb, meaning like air mattresses and couches do not count as beds. You're saving money, but at the same time, you're just pissing off your crew. You're making them feel uncomfortable and they're not getting proper rest. Like, who the hell is gonna, like, okay, air mattresses, some people are like, oh yeah, I love them, but some people cannot sleep that way. And especially when you put all people together in a community like that, in one house, sometimes people like to go straight to bed. Sometimes people like to stay up late, so there's a lot of things that kind of contribute to someone losing sleep. Just try to make sure everyone has a proper bed to sleep in. Well, this is have to do with the money, you know, the budget. So I always think that it's good to have a buffer. So for example, if your budget is 100K, I don't think every penny should be accounted for in terms of budgeting right to the penny. I feel like there might be a little buffer between how much you are going to spend and just that little cushion, you know? So for example, 100K, and then maybe you've budgeted all the way up to like 90, 92K. I just think that having that buffer, you'll have just a little bubble to get you through an emergency, maybe something came up you didn't expect. Just that buffer of money will help you. You know, that's something small, but I feel like don't budget to the penny of the limit that you have for the movie. So this has to do with driving. I mean, not every set is going to be very, very close to where the crew member lives, or to a city center, or where it's close to public transportation. So I think it's wise to make sure that your crew members don't have to drive a crazy distance. Anything more than a half hour every day is way, way too much to commute for a crew member, because if you think about it, a 12-hour day, and then you're driving an extra hour on both ends, that's a 14-hour day. And it's just way, way too long. If anything, I feel like the producer's job is to, yes, make the movie, make sure it has everything it needs to make that movie, but also treat your crew members well, make sure they have what they need to do their best for you, really. So that involves driving to and from set. Making people drive hours and hours to get to set is crazy. If anything, if you can afford it, which I think you should put it into your budget, have a 15-pass van, do pickups, do a pickup point. You know, you need to make sure that people are getting there safely. And also, it's kind of, if a location is hard to get to, it eliminates that whole like worrying about everyone getting there in the first place. So if they're all in a van and then the van driver knows where to go, that's, everyone's getting set. So that's good. It simplifies any of those complications that could arise. I'm going to end this with safety. I know I started with safety, but I'm going to put it on both ends because safety. Other things that go along with safety is dealing with weather, making sure that, you know, no one is going to get burnt. If you're in a field where you know there's going to be bugs, make sure there's bug spray, make sure there's sunscreen, make sure there's enough water on set. When we are shooting in the wintertime, make sure there's hand warmers so people don't frickin' have frostbite and lose fingers or toes, because that does happen if you're having a tough like outdoor exterior day. It's just making sure that people are taken care of. I just want to reiterate that, like, being a producer is about making a movie, but you have to make sure that your cast and crew is being taken care of. They're fed properly, they have enough rest. Making movies is stressful enough and it's hard enough. And I think as a producer, as ADs, you want to make sure that on UPMs and, you know, line producers, all those people who have kind of, not the power, but they do have the say-so to kind of make things a little bit better. If you're a producer, treat your folks well. So that has been a video on producer no-nos. A little bit of advice for people who want to be producers, and maybe they are, or maybe they're still learning and need more experience. I feel like producer no-nos, it's like advice, because I've learned a lot. I mean, being on more and more sets, I've learned a lot of what not to do or what to do when I've seen certain producers do really, really great things for their crew. I think it's a useful video, and thank you for making it to the end of this video. So what's happening with Beyond Film School? I have, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I have done my first production assistant course, and I'm going to continue doing them because I really did enjoy it, and I am building a community. I want Beyond Film School to be a community of people that can rely on each other. I'm gonna have certain film challenges, monthly film challenges, or maybe quarterly film challenges. I kind of want everyone to get together, learn as much as they can, and get out there, because really, I mean, it's all about like getting out there. There's a lot of things in the works for Beyond Film School, and I'm really, really happy about it. And I keep pressing forward, and I'm kind of like, you know, I feel happy about this whole venture. So, and I know I have a lot of people that are like cheering for me and backing me up, and I appreciate that. So thank you for everyone that's been interested in Beyond Film School, and for going to my website, beyondfilmschool.com, and, you know, getting resume tips and going to the network events that I post. I don't know, my Facebook is doing okay, and I'm sorry I haven't posted in a while. I mean, that feature film really did just, I wish I could tell you guys how stressful it was and how some of the crazy stuff I deal with, but there are just some really, really awesome people that I got to work with, and I'm happy I worked with them again. Darren being one of them. He'll probably never watch this video, but like, he got me through like every stressful day on that set, and like the last day was really, really tough. Okay, that's my shout out to Darren. That's it for Beyond Film School, and that's it for Producer No-No. So I shall see you guys next time.